let me start a little bit, just kind of giving 30 seconds on Calix, Silicon Valley-based company in California. Been servicing broadband service providers and ISPs for over 20 years, starting out in the access side, and then over the last 15 years also in the premises. And in particular, over the last 5 to 6 years, we've had a real focus on helping create a set of experiences that can be brought to subscribers across different domains. And that's really what I'm going to be here to discuss today. And I'll leave some opportunity for questions. But essentially, what we're trying to do is help our customers, ISPs and broadband service providers, meet your customers, the subscribers, where they are. And that's what I want to talk about. But I would be remiss if I didn't start by apologizing for my colonial accent. I've been practicing British, Scottish, and Irish, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to do that here today. But my coworkers certainly have had a taste of that, and I get lots of criticism. So I'll just stick with this Canadian thing. I'm actually Swiss, but live in Canada and have done so for many years now. And we have a large UK-based team servicing UK and Ireland. So see, there's that Irish thing that just popped up. And so we'll share a little bit about what we're doing currently in the UK to support many of our customers in the UK. So let's talk a little bit about a day in the life of the subscriber. It's really shifting, and it's not looking back and saying, you know, it's just about devices being added, et cetera. I'll talk a little bit about some of the UK statistics in a bit. And it's really this idea that we always need to be connected. And whether I'm at home, or if I'm at work, or if I'm out and about in the community, I want to always be connected. Now, historically, that's been done over the mobile networks. And what I would like to discuss today is the possibility of how that could be done over fiber and Wi-Fi, creating this sort of always-on lifestyle with no lag, no jitter, no drop, gaming experiences or video streaming experiences that are resilient to movement of the device. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. And so we'll frame that up first by talking about some of the shaping trends. So this is UK specific data that we've been collecting. And what we have learned from our surveys is that 60% of people would consider customer service being critical or a main feature, and additional services to make that customer service experience worthwhile are what creates stickiness and keeps you kind of beyond that first 2-year contract that you sign up your subscribers for. And the more and more devices that get connected, and on average, it's 9 devices per home right now in the UK. I guess I'm aberrant. I just checked my app this morning. I have 53, and there are at least 2 people not home. So I'm going to guess it's probably a little over 60 normally. But 9 devices per home. And some of those are stationary devices, and some of those are mobile devices. And that's what we want to talk about. Then at work, there's a very large percentage of people willing to pay for additional features that make their at-work experience more reliable, better quality, and delivering sufficient speed to do what needs doing. And the opportunity in the UK market is very large. So if you think just about small businesses alone, there's 5.5 million in the UK. And so making sure that you can service that environment as well is extremely important, and that environment cares even more so about things like security and giving the apps that they need. And then there's finally a bunch of use cases for community, and there's a lot of Wi-Fi hotspots in the UK today. And I'm not talking about hotspots. Hotspot means I can open up my Wi-Fi, I can pick another SSID that's servicing me locally. Security be danged unless I happen to have some protection on the device that I'm using it, but that gives me access, and that's probably fine if you want to flip through the news, et cetera. But you are opening yourself up to a lot of predatory behavior when you do that. And if you have a work device and you're doing that, you're also exposing your business or your corporation to a bunch of additional risk, unless they're doing a lot to protect the device. So you have weak security, You don't necessarily have all the login you would expect to be able to authenticate. Hey, am I an authenticated user that should be using this network? Often hotspots, the performance is questionable, and there aren't enough routers to either handle the load of synchronous users or how far you are from the particular router that you're connecting to. So coverage is questionable. And then you always have this idea, well, should I be monetizing that hotspot? Or is this a hotspot I'm giving away? Or will it be sponsored and somebody else is paying for it, for example, at an airport? And so the other thing I would like to talk about is the idea of Wi-Fi on the go and what that means from a community perspective. So here's the opportunity that we are seeing. First of all, we need to enhance the home experience beyond the demarcation point of the ONT to the home, beyond even putting a router inside the home. The router, the first experience people will have is typically Wi-Fi. Sure, we'll have some hard connected devices over Ethernet, but the first experience is Wi-Fi. And if the Wi-Fi experience is bad, then the ISP always gets that blame, gets that call. Oh, you know what? My iPad 1 isn't working well. And the ISP has to, troubleshoot and decide, well, maybe you shouldn't be using an iPad 1 anymore because it's hogging all the bandwidth. So that the first experience in the home is Wi-Fi, but you can be delivering other experiences in the home. And that's one of the things we deliver as part of our services. And then as you move into providing internet and Wi-Fi in a work environment for small business, it's about transitioning from just selling connectivity to enabling productivity and resiliency. So what happens if there's a fiber cut? Does that mean, that coffee shop or that retailer suddenly can't take point of sale transactions? So you need to be able to provide both improved productivity and resiliency. If you're a business that has a high influx of seasonal workers during the summer students, what happens to all the people you enabled on your network? Are you actually managing and getting them off when they leave? Are you removing them? Are you pausing them? So, the idea of being able to secure your network, even if you're a really small business, and then making sure that you can provide that resiliency into the community. And that could be everything from I'm leaving my house and I'm going to walk the dog, and I don't want to pause the YouTube video that my child sent me and I want to watch it as I'm walking the dog, and I don't want to revert necessarily to 5G, or I'm on a device that isn't using a mobile 5G connection. Or maybe there are other community scenarios. So parks, farms to enable IoT, which is really important, or festivals with sort of a temporary availability, education, making sure that students in my community have the ability to connect, even if they can't afford it at home. How am I enabling that? So we believe that when you enhance the subscriber experience and you think about it from the subscriber's lens, it's really about making sure that they have a managed experience. Entry level point is Wi-Fi, and then you have the opportunity to extend how much you will be in their experience by making decisions about where and how you'll participate. So you have to give them tools to operate and enhance that experience. You also want to adapt to their connective lifestyle, making sure that they have a secure and protected experience. We don't want the 3-year-old to say, hey, mommy and daddy, the baby monitor asked me if I want ice cream. That's a bad situation. So we don't want to enable those types of things. We want to make sure our subscribers and the members of our network, and that's how we view them, they're members, are having a safe experience. And then as we move into providing services for small business, which is an extension from the home, but there are other tools needed, we have to do things that also secure the connection in the same way we are in the home, but also enable the types of things we need in a business. So if I'm a baker and I also serve coffee and I want people to stay in my shop, maybe I want to provide guest Wi-Fi, but I want to do that in a safe and protected way. Maybe I want to collect their email addresses and have a sort of sign-up wall. Maybe I want to offer it for services, a paywall. Those are all options you want to be able to give when you're delivering services to small business. And you need to give them a proliferation of equipment that will enable what they need. That might mean a switch. That might mean a router. That might mean a hardened router for outdoors use. So you need to have this range of services that you can provide in order to enable small business use. And then again, in the community, hotspots are great, but they have some situations that aren't necessarily what you're trying to manage for. And if you could take the same managed approach that you have in the home and that you have in small business and offer it to the community, that means if I'm a paying subscriber at home and I leave my house, I shouldn't have to re-authenticate. I should just be able to continue my experience. I shouldn't notice that I'm leaving. If I pass a small business customer who's also participating in that community Wi-Fi, I should be able to leverage that as well if that's how I choose to set it up. And so we believe that it should be a seamless experience, whether you're starting it from the home, you're doing it during the workday, or you're out and about running errands on the evenings and the weekend. And that's all enabled through having a set of managed services. So maybe I'll create a little bit of understanding in terms of how we do that here. The platform that we deliver these sets of services on isn't different in any of these three use cases. So whether you're serving the community, small business, or the home, it is the same set of services. It is the same operating system, regardless of the type of hardware you're putting to do the job. So if it's a hardened outdoor router sitting in a lamp pole or in the side of the building, or it's a switch inside the business that has a mix of VoIP and Ethernet ports and is also delivering Wi-Fi, or if it's a Wi-Fi mesh network sitting in the house, it's always the same operating system, which means we enable a delivery of a set of services that then can be purposed for their specific use case. And so that allows you to do managed Wi-Fi. That allows you to give an a smartphone app or a tablet app to any of those community members to be able to manage or log into their experience. You're protecting them at the network level from intrusion. You can do policy management or parental controls through Experience IQ, and you can provide resiliency to your network. So in particular for small business or home, if for some reason there's an outage or a power outage and I can no longer access my fiber network, you need to enable automated rollover to an alternative backhaul, for example, mobile, so that I can still take pause transactions, or I can still work from home, but I'm going to pause everything else that's happening in the home. So I'll allow Zoom or Teams, but I'm going to shut down Netflix so that I can use that that mobile backhaul to continue my experience. And as long as we're providing that set of consistency by using the same platform, the same tools, the same hardware, we can serve all these different use cases, but manage it as one. So there's not a big change to your MOPS. You manage it the same way. You don't have to retrain your people based on the type of situation where you're managing Wi-Fi for, and you use the same tools. So you get resiliency in your people. You're less subjective to what churn means in your environment, because you can train them up and they can serve everyone everywhere. And so what we do is we don't care where you start. You decide how you want to build it. Our router family is called the Giga family. We have a whole host of configurations of routers that I'm not sharing today, but can follow up on. And then you decide where you want to start. Maybe you want to start in the home servicing subscribers. We have customers in the UK who are choosing to focus on small business first. And now that we've enabled the idea of Smart Town, we have some customers who are looking at maybe Smart Town is where they start with us, and that's fine too. It really doesn't matter. And then we add in all these additional services, and you decide, am I going to charge for these or am I going to give these away? And those are all choices you get to make as you go to business. I know I'm running short, so I'll try to stick on time. Apologies, Chris. I'm going as fast as I can. Set my own alarm. So
that's okay. Crack on.
Yeah, wrap up. So this enables you to decide what you're going to do with value-added services. You can create revenue streams. You can decide what you want to do with your margins and ARPU. You can focus on delivering customer satisfaction. Because it's a single platform to do all of those, it helps you reduce your operational costs. And most of all, allows you to focus on your customer, which will drive loyalty and reduce churn. We have a large set of capabilities that we've invested in to build this out, spent over $1 billion in R&D. And I'll stop there to allow for a question or two before we pass it over to Jan.
Yeah, I think that was really interesting, Dan, actually, especially that's the first time I've come across sort of Calix's community experience, which I think is really interesting, especially around the security aspect and the vulnerability we see in the modern day when using Wi-Fi hubs in the community. But I kind of wanted to bring it back with one of the questions I've got, sort of regarding the business aspect of why an ISP would look to use Calix as a subscriber experience provider. You talked a bit about sort of the overall subscriber experience for the consumer, but why is that important for an ISP to look at as sort of the market matures and sort of looks beyond just the pipeline into a premises? Why is it sort of important that ISPs value subscriber experience beyond that?
100%. Great question. Thank you, Christian. So look, the gold rush of lots of free money available to go build infrastructure and fiber networks, who knows when the gravy train ends, but we're certainly seeing a switch on the private funding side where the metric of homes passed is no longer the only metric, but in fact, there's an expectation for a return on investment. And so as an ISP, if you're not creating that return on investment, you're positioning yourself to be bought, which is fine if that's your exit strategy. If you're reselling somebody else's network, which is also often the case in the UK, then you really have to think about, how will I look different from everyone else? And if you're not doing that, you're competing on price and speed. And so if you don't create a differentiated experience, it's very hard to make your brand stand out from other brands. Now, there are some brands who've done a great job of that, and I won't, there's a wide audience here, so I won't sort of name drop specific companies. And I've been impressed with what some companies have been able to do. But if you don't think about, how am I going to take the subscriber experience and make it different than what anybody else can provide in a competitive market? If I don't enable that across their entire lifestyle, whether that's at home or at work or on the go, I'm not differentiating. And so we're starting to see customers today that are talking about, if you're my home subscriber, when you're on the go in a community that I've chosen to light up, you don't have to pay anything extra. That's part of the value differentiated service I provide. You don't have to re-authenticate. You get the same security on the go. And so I think thinking about the subscriber experience will help you differentiate, and that will drive monetization, either of your organization if you're reselling, or of your network if you're in altnet.
No, that makes perfect sense. I think I'll squeeze one extra question in here. Obviously, sort of having a managed service and subscriber experience comes at additional cost, but how does that turn into a strategic advantage for an organization rather than sort of a cost implication?
Yeah, so that really depends on how you bring those additional services in your go-to-market strategy. One of the things we do as a part of our engagement is we don't charge for this. We've just found that our customers have been asking for this, so we deliver it as part of our engagement. Is we go in, we do what we call a marketing consult, and we understand from our customers, what are their objectives, what are they trying to get to, what are they measuring, what do they need to get to, how much of that is subscriber acquisition, how much of that is improving ARPU, and then together we build a plan on how to be able to kind of fund the incremental investment that you're talking about. And so we've been able to largely do that through having persona-based packaging. So rather than I sell 150 meg, I sell 500 meg, I sell a gig, or if you're in Switzerland, 10 gig, because that's what they do there.
Adventurous.
Yeah. Instead you saw, you know what, I have a gaming package, I have a work from home package, I have an on the go package. And then because that's so different, in particular in the UK market, that means you can escape the commoditization in terms of how pricing is being done today.